And we begin with the latest on the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, where the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran continue for a second day. A senior White House official says new potential leadership in Iran has suggested they are open for talks with the U.S. The official says President Donald Trump is eventually willing to talk, but for now, he is firm that the military operation continues unabated. Trump told The Atlantic that he's agreed to talk to Iran, but wouldn't comment on the timing. Trump also says the joint U.S.-Israeli operation has led to 9 Iranian warships being destroyed. In a post on Truth Social, he says the ships have sunk and, quote, "we are going after the rest." He adds, in a different attack, Iran's naval headquarters has been destroyed. This comes as White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed Trump has spoken with leaders of Israel, Bahrain, and the UAE. U.S. Central Command has confirmed 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action during combat operations in Iran. In a statement on social media, Central Command says 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. It goes on to say several others sustained minor injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. The identities of those killed aren't expected to be made public until 24 hours after their next of kin have been notified. CTV's military analyst David Fraser weighed in on the news.
The sad part is this was forewarned. And, it is probably happening, in places where the Americans have troops around in the region.
With me now is Kaveh Shahrooz, a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and former senior policy advisor on human rights to Global Affairs Canada. Kaveh, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with this suggestion from the White House that new potential leadership could be open for talks. What do you think has prompted this, and is it at least a good sign?
Good to be with you. Well, I think what's prompted this is the realization among at least certain factions of the Iranian regime that they have their back against the wall, their survival's at stake. Any plan that they had about fighting the Americans has now been destroyed, and they've recognized their weakness. Is it a good sign? No, I don't think so. I mean, depends really on what your goal is. I think the vast majority of Iranian people, and I'm of Iranian background, they want to see this regime gone. So the idea of negotiating with, the remnants of this regime is not very appealing. This is a regime that cannot be trusted in any form, any part of it, and I think it's time for it to go.
Now, despite this suggestion that new leaders in Iran might be willing to talk, and also Trump saying that he has agreed to at some point talk to Iran, he says for now that the military operation continues unabated. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think the Americans and the Israelis have certain military objectives that they're trying to achieve. Taking out Iran's ballistic missile program, I mean, that has been at the heart of much of the discussion in recent weeks. That's certainly a goal. And I think there's also the stated goal of trying to go after the tools of repression that Iran uses, because, as we saw in January, there was a mass uprising, and the Iranian regime absolutely crushed that uprising. So given that both President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu have called people to come out in the streets again in a few days, I think there was probably an aim of facilitating that by taking out the tools that the Iranian regime would use to crush another uprising.
What concessions or promises do you think Iran will need to make to the U.S. for this to all come to a resolution?
The Iranians will have to agree not to enrich uranium and to abandon their nuclear program. They will have to give up their ballistic missiles, and they'll have to agree to basically abandon all their proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the tools that they've been using to wreak havoc in the region. All of that, I think, is what the United States is looking for. But the Iranian people have an additional demand, which is that there actually be democracy in Iran. I hope that's actually on the agenda of things that are being discussed, if once the discussions actually take place with the Iranians again.
How easy or difficult could regime change, democracy be in Iran? Is it something that can happen overnight?
Democracy does not get built overnight, but I think the Iranian people have demonstrated their desire for it. They've fought bravely for it for decades, and really, coming to a head in the last couple of months. I think all the motivation is there. They've decided that they're sick of this regime. They're sick of theocracy. They want democracy and human rights and the rule of law, and they're willing to fight very hard for it. So I think all the elements are there. There will be challenges, but I have no doubt that they'll be able to achieve it.
What are you going to be watching for in the coming days?
Well, I think the most important thing is to see whether or not the Americans actually want to proceed with regime change, or if they're satisfied to basically carry out a Venezuela-style implementation where they decapitate and then bargain with the rest of the regime. I think that's going to be determined in the next few days to come.
All right, that's our time. We'll leave it there. Great talking with you, Kaveh. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.
That's Kaveh Shahrooz, a senior fellow at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute and former senior policy advisor on human rights to Global Affairs Canada.